All right, and we're live. This is another episode of This Hour Has 56 Minutes. Uh, Should be a good one. Cantwell's not doing his show, so we're going to have to pick up the slack for him today. So, damn, hold on. Let me turn that off. Got background noise. All right, so we're talking about the Alt-Lite for this episode and the atheist skeptic community. So I'm sure was our pathway to what we are thinking now. So you guys heard of Stefan Molyneux, Alex Jones, all of those guys. We're just going to be looking at the examinations and why they attack us, and essentially they're going to be backed into a corner where they will have to support us or just disappear.
Oh yeah, look at Alex Jones now, right? He's forced to be on the fringes of Gab. Doesn't even have a platform, right? That's exactly what happened to Daily Stormer, and look at him now. I mean, he's in the same position, but he still will not go out and say anything, to back up anybody in our movement at all.
Yeah, I don't know how far it has to go. Well, he still has his payment processor.
Well, ironically, right? Ironically, well, if you ever get a chance, you should look up his sponsors. Most of his sponsors come from a long-nosed tribe.
Yeah, won't surprise me. I know he sells like testosterone, super male vitality, a lot of supplements and vitamins. I'm not sure if they actually work or not, if it's just bogus.
Yeah, I mean,
I
it
guess
doesn't look
that's
like
where he
it's
makes
doing
most of
much
his
to him.
money.
It doesn't seem to be doing much work for him. That's for sure. Like he shows big pictures of before and after, and it looks exactly the same. He just looks a little bit more tanner in one than the other.
Yeah, I don't think it works for him. I mean, granted, he does look a little bit skinnier before, but it's not noticeable. Not really
Yeah,
that noticeable at all.
it's not. But a lot of his sponsors are long-nosed people, so maybe they've helped him out to keep his payment processor going, right? That's the only thing that I could think of. Because if it was anybody else, if that was Cantwell, for example, Cantwell doesn't even have a payment processor. I don't even think, right?
Yeah, he doesn't. He had some offshore payment processor, but they shut him down.
God, this is the state of our country right now, where something that you say could literally get you shut down, like financially shut down.
Yeah, that attack's actually more insidious than just getting outright censored. Because if you're censored and you can't like speak publicly, at least you could still sell your books online, or you could sell other products online, or ask for donations. But this is much worse than like there's certain regard to outright government censorship.
Right. Like David Duke actually sent me a newsletter, because I actually, since I bought his books, I guess, they send newsletters. And the same thing happened to him. His payment processes are all shut down. And, he's got to ask people literally in this old format of literally sending people newsletters, asking them if they could donate some money. That's what it's literally gone, like, to the point that it's got to, even to David Duke.
Yeah, he actually tried to deplatform Stefan Molyneux, but all of Stefan Molyneux's fans just bombarded YouTube with emails as soon as he got a strike. I think it was his second strike. He asked his fans, "Hey, I need you to help me out. I'm going to be off of YouTube if you don't do something." They just all get. He didn't even organize it. All of his, I guess one of his fans organized it, spammed YouTube with all those emails, and hey, they got rid of the strikes.
Yeah, I
So
mean, Stefan Molyneux has like almost 1 million followers, right? Like at least by this time, I haven't checked recently, because I haven't watched the video of Stefan Molyneux in over, I don't know, months, maybe a year over. And I'm thinking that his fans by themselves, just they just bombard YouTube, and YouTube has to bring him back. I remember one time before he had gotten this big that they had removed all his content from YouTube once, and then they did bombard the audience bombarded them, and they brought it back.
But which tells you how useful somebody like Stefan Molyneux would be if he was on our side. I mean, lots of people have tons of supporters. Like, for example, Cantwell has a good, significant fan base, but he can't even get them to buy crypto and donate to him. But Stefan doesn't even have to organize them to do something; they'll do it on their own.
Oh yeah, yeah, man. Stefan Molyneux's Free Domain Radio is just—it's huge. They'll organize themselves and literally fight tooth and nail with YouTube just to make sure that his content is out there. And unfortunately for the alt-right guys, it's not that way. They just, I mean, for Jared Taylor, he constantly gets deplatformed. He got deplatformed from Twitter, actually, I believe, and he was actually fighting a lawsuit with them, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, Stefan Molyneux isn't that base. He goes farther than what the allowable opinion would give you room for, just barely on the edge.
He won't he's that margin guy. He's like that guy on the margin.
Yeah, he's on the margin. That's what I'm thinking. He's just really on the margin of what allowable opinion. I mean, he'll let people like Jared Taylor on, but whenever he asks on, mainly on Gab, I see the number one person is Andrew Anglin about the deplatforming, Richard Spencer, and Christopher Cantwell. Those are the top three. And when people ask him on Gab, he doesn't even acknowledge that they asked him. He doesn't delete their comments. Well, I guess on Gab you can't delete it, but he doesn't even acknowledge them.
Yeah, I mean, imagine what would happen, right, if he actually acknowledges it. Like, I would love to see Christopher Cantwell or Richard Spencer or Anglin on. I would love to see that. I think that would be one of his most highest rated shows. But unfortunately, there's an aspect of being mainstream. Maybe I don't know. Do you think that it's possible that maybe he doesn't want to hurt his mainstream appeal to people? Maybe that's might be what it is. That's the only thing I could think of.
Well, I think some of it might be the Canadian hate speech laws too. He has to be careful about that.
True. Yeah, Canada is very censorship happy, I guess you could say, with Trudeau over there.
Well, actually, no, that can't be true because JF is from Canada, and he goes pretty far as white nationalism goes.
Yeah, JF does do really, really good work, and actually, he's actually probably the guy that I actually like the most. One of the guys that I like the most in the alt-right. I think he's definitely someone that has a lot of useful insights, and he seems like someone that I transitioned from Molyneux more to JF now that I've adopted more alt-right leanings.
But I think with all the deplatforming, they're going after Molyneux, Alex Jones, the people that they see are like a stepping stone over to us. And as these people are just called Nazis, racists, white supremacists, no matter what they do. I mean, they call the Patriot Prayer white supremacists and Nazis. They had like at an event out in Providence, Rhode Island, not too long ago. And they didn't even get to speak at their event. They had, let me see if I can bring that up.
Well, I mean, Rise Above, right? It's just like a martial arts group, right? That teaches, and they're Nazis.
Yeah, it's really like it was just a fitness group. It wasn't even like political at all. It is, if you join, hey, you got to stop porn. You got to stop degeneracy out of your life. Work hard, eat right. It wasn't even political. It was like a self-improvement group more than anything else.
I mean, Rush V is a Nazi now. You know what I mean? Like it's Rush V is a Nazi. You know, it's already to that point already where a pickup artist, you know, is already a Nazi. He's transitioning from a pickup artist, right?
Yeah, he transitioned from a pickup artist. Here's ADR out in Patriot Prayer. You got Spider Man on their side, on the Patriot Prayer side. They were literally attacked with paint, baby powder. They had bottles of piss thrown at them. It's just crazy what they're attacking them with. I'll see if I can speed it up to the bottles of piss being thrown out.
Holy shit! I haven't seen this.
Yeah, see it? There you go. They got a bottle. It's full of piss, just throwing it at people.
Look at these tough guys. Look at this fucking fat guy right there to your right hand side. Yeah,
Yeah,
really tough guys. God, it's just so seeing things like that.
yeah. I like these guys though. I mean, the only thing that makes them cool though is Antifa attacking Patriot Prayer. If Patriot Prayer just showed up and did their thing, and there was no counter protesters, they would be, I don't know, pretty lame. We wouldn't even be talking about them. They're just going to do the Pledge of Allegiance, say a couple of prayers, sing some songs, some
Yeah.
Queen songs. It's.
Did you see the video by any chance of what's this, is the League of the South by any chance that they were burning they burned the Communist Manifesto, I believe it was, and they burned the Talmud, I believe it was, or like an Israeli flag. Did you see that one?
No, I didn't see that one.
Yeah, let me see if I could pull that up because that was pretty awesome. I'm not gonna lie, that's pretty awesome. League of the South. Sorry to go off topic, but that burning. Can you hear my typing by any chance?
Yeah, a little bit.
All right, hopefully. Oh no! Apparently they took it out. Apparently they took it out. You can't have many things on YouTube here that has League of the South because they're pretty much hated as well. But I can't seem to find it.
So the best thing about these groups, the alt-light's actually better organized than we are. Um, and it's going to be very good if they're going to be pushed into us. Because these people, they're not, there's no stopping. Like, there's no such thing as pulling back or falling back. Maybe we're going too far. That doesn't happen with them. So they're going to eventually push Patriot Prayer, push Stefan Molyneux, push all these guys to work with us.
No, yeah, absolutely.
That's what I'm looking forward to, and I really like it because these guys are much better organized than we are.
Oh yeah, look, I mean, none of these people want to give up their power, so they want to keep, because they know that as soon as these trannies and all these people lose power, that when we get capture power, that's it, they're done. Like we're gonna have right wing certain squads, right?
Yeah, it's possible that some of the people in Patriot Prayer actually wear the RWS hat, RWS shirt. Pinochet did nothing wrong.
I've seen that. Yeah, I have seen that. That's pretty awesome. I actually want to get myself one of those, but then I have to decide if I'm going to get that or if I want to get a Murdoch shirt because I love Murdoch as well.
Yeah, well, I guess we can segue to the next topic. We were talking about the atheist group, atheist YouTubers, and where they eventually evolved into the skeptic community, and now it's pretty much a dead community.
Dying. It keeps just dying. Every skeptic that comes on, I'm sure Medicare is just killing every single one of them. Have you seen the last one with the by any chance the furries?
I was so triggered by it. I can only watch like 2 minutes of it, 2 to 3 minutes. I can't believe he didn't show it on the screen. He was just describing it.
Yeah, it's pretty disturbing, and I think we need to gas the furries.
Yeah, that's the least thing we can do. I can't believe that it's friends' lifestyle, like dressing up like a furry animal and having sex with other people that like to dress up as furry animals is it, bigger than it should be. More members on the group than I really would like to be. Should only be like 100 people throughout the country, but they have conventions. They had a convention out in Baltimore too.
Oh my god, I can imagine. Why would they have a convention in Baltimore? I mean, that's like the worst city to have it in.
Yeah, I went there because I went to the anime convention in Baltimore for Otakon, and the previous week they had a furry convention, a furry brony convention.
Oh my god, the bronies, the same thing. I'm sorry, those it's like the same type of person, like the furries and the bronies. Gas both of them.
Yeah, anybody fapping to pony porn, there's no help for you.
There's just no. Did you see by any chance that there was an article about the troubling relationship between anime and fascism?
No, I didn't hear about that. It wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, let me go ahead. I'm gonna put that in the chat so you can take it. Let me go ahead and send that to you.
Oh, it's on the Sci-Fi channel. Okay, that's something.
Yeah. Yep, anime and fascism. Look, I haven't watched a lot of anime, and it's my, I have seen things like Akira. I have seen, I could say Dragon Ball Z and things like that, but I have not seen much of it, right? But I mean, maybe you could go elaborate on this.
Yeah, who would have thought that a 4chan, pretty much an anime image board, would be the birth of Nazism in the present modern day? But I don't really get it. I mean, with anime, why so many? There's some animes that are fascistic, but a lot of them are just goofy. Let's go ahead and read this. I'm going to read this article. This is from Attack on Titan. Awesome anime, by the way. I loved season 1, season 2. The current season isn't that great, and second part of season 2 not that great. It's not a lot of action, just very story driven.
Mm-hmm.
The troubling relationship between anime and fascism.
I can't even laugh. I gotta laugh at that title.
I just wanted to watch a nice anime about people encountering gigantic fruit. At least that's how I was first exposed to HACA, 13 Territory Inspection Department, an anime series ostensibly about an inspector investigating a possible conspiracy to overthrow the government. Oh, wow, this does sound fascistic. Wow. When ACA first popped up on my social media feeds, the portrayal of fruit, enormous and appetizing, caught my eye. Food-focused anime is one of my favorite genres. What the hell? Who wants to watch that? I can't even watch the cooking channel. Why I wanted to watch anime about cooking food?
What kind of fucking freak is this?
Intrigued, I fired up my Roku, clicked on the Crunchyroll app, and settled in to watch the first episode of ACA. I struggled through that first episode, not because the plot was boring, it wasn't, or because the characters were bland. They were actually quite charming. My shallow hang-up was with the uniforms. Oh, I see. No, they're kind of nice. They're missing the eagle, though.
Yeah, very, very similar, right?
Yeah. Each government worker was clad in a black outfit, stylish and sharp, with a hint of red near the shoulders, and echoing an SS uniform. This detail, seemingly superfluous, yanked me right out of my suspension of disbelief and my enjoyment of the anime. The setting is clearly not World War II era Germany. The characters aren't portrayed as evil, and yet the imaginary imagery turned my stomach. It dawned on me that I wouldn't feel comfortable seeing people cosplay as these characters, and I deleted the series from my watch list. Was my reaction petty? Should I have just powered through the series even if the uniforms offended me? Other anime fans were able to watch this without getting upset. So why couldn't I? Perhaps most importantly, why do a considerable number of anime series have Nazi XPs? What is up with anime and fascism anyway? One of the most popular anime series in recent years, Attack on Titan, takes place within a walled city whose citizens are dominated by a militaristic government. The main character, Eren Yeager, joins the elite army corps tasked with the destruction of giant, ravenous, human-like creatures called Titans. The government controls every aspect of life within the city, spreads propaganda praising the military. Eren, seeking vengeance for losing his mother to the Titans, completely buys into the core kill 'em all rhetoric. Attack on Titan takes place in a fascist state. And I actually don't remember that. It's from Full Metal Alchemist. But Attack on Titan is actually not really a fascist state. It's a monarchy, a monarchist state. It's ruled by a king, and it's. Have you ever seen the series, by the way? At all?
No, I've never seen it. Never seen it.
Well, it's kind of cool because it's pretty hierarchical. Like you have the king in the castle. Like they're separated by walls. So in the innermost city of the wall is the aristocracy, the military police, whose duty is to guard the king and to keep order within the walls. And then outside the walls is the I guess the second class below the aristocracy. People all the way at the outer wall near the Titans. So if the Titans ever break in, they're the first ones to die. There's like the peasants. So it is kind of fascistic in a sense, the way the government's set up and everything, and the uniforms, and
So
I can see where she's coming from.
in a sense, it seems to have like a hierarchy, right? It seems like it's promoting a hierarchy.
Yeah, exactly. It is a hierarchy.
Yeah, and apparently, anything like that there's nothing that's unequal, is fascism to anybody, anybody on the left, right?
Yeah, but I do like it's not. There's some merit. Like if you go to the military, you could actually get into the inner circle, into the live where the aristocracy lives. So it isn't that bad.
Yeah, the warrior class, that would be, right?
Yeah, the warrior class. Yeah.
Of course, so absolutely, those people, you need them to defend your society, so they would be looked highly upon. So yeah, it encapsulates, from what you're telling me, like a hierarchy, and that's what the left will definitely go ahead and run around and call this anime a fascist anime. Of course, that makes sense to me.
Yeah, I stopped watching anime like a couple years ago, like 5-6 years ago. But this one really caught my attention. It's really good compared to the other animes I watched. So, highly recommended. All right, let's get back to the article. Full Metal Alchemist, one of my most beloved series of all time, is set in Amysterius, a vaguely German-esque nation with, you guessed it, a militaristic government. To add the fun, a mysterious leader is even called Fuhrer Bradley.
That's
I
awesome.
haven't seen Full Metal Alchemist.
That is
I think
awesome.
this is from the movie.
You know what? Now I have to put that on. I don't watch movies or anything or TV shows, but I have to watch that now.
This connection is made more overt in the Full Metal Alchemist movie Conqueror of Shambhala, where the plot reveals that Amysterius is an alternative reality Germany. Even Hitler makes an appearance in full-on anime form. And this is actually pretty common in a lot of Japanese anime. They really admire Germany. So a lot of anime has a setting where they take place in an alternative German history. Not all of it's Nazis, but yeah, that's why you see a lot of blondes and blue-eyed anime characters, even though people in Japan don't look like that at all. So they have a lot of big admiration for Germany.
Yeah, I've seen some photos of actually people that go to Germany, and then they start doing like salutes in front of, I think it's the Reichstag, right?
Yeah.
And I've seen that. I've seen that photo, and then I believe some people got in trouble just for doing that as well.
Yeah, you're not allowed to do it. It's banned. The long-running series Mobile Suit Gundam, known for constantly reinventing itself since the late 1970s. This was my favorite anime. Not, I like Dragon Ball Z, but I liked Gundam even more. Almost always features an antagonistic sovereign state based on a jingoistic World War II era Germany. Legend of the Galactic Heroes, which is actually being dubbed by Emily Eustace and some people over at
Really?
TRS. Yeah,
Oh yeah,
they're dubbing the whole damn. It's like 700 plus episode series. I wish them luck. I think they did like 10 episodes so far. The I subscribed to the YouTube channel, but they had to take down the YouTube videos because they were getting strikes. So now they just put like little trailers and put a link to download it. I would recommend it. I mean, when I was on the TRS forums, they said it's the #1 alt-right anime. I guess you can't go wrong with that.
Yeah, no, you can't go wrong with that.
Legend of Galactic Heroes, a Japanese novel series adapted into multiple anime shows, also contains a similar government called the Galactic Empire. Italia, Axis Powers, portrays a group of anthropomorphized countries with sympathetic, long-suffering Germany as the main character. It's bad enough when these blue-eyed... No, sorry. Apologize. It's bad enough when these blonde-haired, blue-eyed, Nordic-featured characters are paraded about. It's even worse when these themes are packaged alongside overly cute moe girls. Girls Unter Panzer is one of my personal favorite anime series. It depicts an alternative world where simulated warfare is a treasured sport for young women. Yeah, only in an alternative reality would that be possible.
For real.
And high school girls participate in a multinational competition to destroy each other and sham combat. It subverts the idea of a masculine military, but the ragtag high school group, the one you're supposed to root for, uses a Panzer. I can't read Roman numerals. I'm going to say 4. A Panzer IV, a World War II era German armored tank. These tanks used to trundle across the fields of Europe, vanquishing everything in their paths, and the dissonance between the tank blowing stuff up while being piloted by a group of cute girls is at once delightfully empowering and oddly disturbing. I still enjoy the heck out of it because the female friendships resonate with me, as does the blowing stuff up. Never saw
Let
that
me
one.
ask you: is this a woman writing this article? I'm
It
assuming.
has to be.
It has
She
to be.
kind of looks. I can't really tell what she is.
This has to be. It just
She's
has
an
to be.
Asian girl. Yeah, Southeast Asian. It looks like.
Just has to fuck with everything. Just has to really.
Oh
There's
God,
no place where.
Yuri on Ice. Don't watch that. It's literally gay. It's this guy.
Oh my
This
god! Hold
guy
on.
is an ice skater. He has a fan that like I'm not even gonna explain it. It's just really these two hook up.
What is that? Yuri on Ice is the queer figure skating anime you need after the Olympics. What kind of article is this?
I'm not even gonna get into it. Don't watch it. Highly unrecommended.
Yeah, I don't think anybody. Oh my god! Look at these photos. Oh my god! Jesus.
Strike Witches and Katana collection also demonstrate this bizarre dissonance between cute and disturbing. Female characters who represent planes and battleships are plunged into alternative reality World War II battles, where Japan rewrites history and becomes more victorious than the country was in real life. These cute girls are at the range of these powerful weapons of war, but their agenda focuses on friendship and fair play, not hate. But does that lack of evil forgive all disturbing details? Is this issue solely in the realm of military anime? Nope. The culinary competition anime, Food Wars, has a storyline featuring an elitist group of chefs who fear contamination of the cooking world by others who don't ascribe to traditional techniques. Their agenda involves teaching all aspiring cooks to make the exact same thing the exact same way without wiggle room for innovation. Yes, Food Wars depicts fascist foodies. There has to be something within the Japanese cultural landscape which lends itself to these narratives constantly popping up in its media. To answer this, it's important to focus on how Japan portrays itself and its own media narratives. This article is pretty long. We'll see if we can get through it. On the surface, Japan seems to adore its own history. Samurai dramas are perennially popular, but there's one era which has never really received much attention: World War II. The Ghibli film Grave of the Fireflies does depict the horrors of post-war Tokyo in graphic detail, but Japan still has tremendously difficult time accepting its role in conflicts from the 1930s and 1940s. The systemic ignoring of Japan's occupation of China and the denial of the existence of comfort women are clear examples of the country's inability to take responsibility for its troubled past. The atrocities perpetuated by the Japanese military of that era are barely acknowledged, though it leads to a fascination with that era. And since Japan struggles with its own history as an imperialist state, their interest falls instead on Nazi Germany and its iconography. Mm. So I don't know why people get on Japan about comfort women all the time. Because, I mean, isn't that historically what happens during war? And you invade a neighboring country, you kill the men, and then you take the women as war brides. But somehow they want to look at Japan and only Japan and really just attack them on that. They never mention. I'm pretty sure the Americans did the same thing when they came over to Germany or they went over to France, that they took war brides as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's just this article is just it's just hilarious. Like this writer is just like they can't. It just seems that they can't go a day in their life without having some sort of like an eagle flies by. Oh, that's a Nazi. Like it just doesn't seem like there's anything that these people won't write about, right? That's not fascism or Nazis, right?
Yeah, well, I think the reason why anime appears to be more fascistic, wow, I'm having tough saying that word, is that it's not controlled by Jews. It's controlled by the Japanese. So they're pushing out stories and narratives of their own without somebody in between negotiating what it should be.
What about that one with the ice skating that we had? Is that one? I see it, me would seem is controlled by Jews. We need to find that. We need to find out about that one. That one seems to be, if anything, I wouldn't be surprised. Would we?
Japan, unfortunately, is still a very xenophobic nation and has a difficult time accepting immigrants, even if it sorely needs them. The country struggles to maintain a workforce with the dwindling population. More women are focusing on their careers instead of their family, which will eventually result in new workers to replace their retiring ones. Oh, hey, at least she sees the problem when women focusing on careers instead of family. That I'm kind of surprised.
Yeah, that's actually a very surprising thing to see actually in this article. Like out of everything that I've read, that is very surprising.
Yeah, I mean, you expect a liberal. I mean, she sounds kind of like a liberal to be celebrating that women having careers instead of focusing on the family. But hey, at least she sees it how it is. So I'll give her that credit. The country needs immigrants. which could cause resentment among Japanese citizens. This conservative, reactionary environment is ripe for creating and supporting media which hates foreigners, which fears foreigners, supports an all-reaching totalitarian government, and celebrates the military. There's an eagerness towards nostalgia, towards past glories, towards reminiscing about Japan as an all-powerful empire. Japanese society elevates and praises women who are submissive, delicate, and willing to acquiesce to men in all things. It's no wonder that some alt-writers gravitate towards moe girls as avatars to depict the sort of girl they want instead of those uppity feminists. Anime girls don't talk back, after all, and many moe characters aren't shown in relationships unless the show is specifically a romance anime, preying them for waifu status. Outside of their cute personalities and their dislikes, moe girls are considered a blank slate ready for love, and trolly Nazi memes. Perhaps it's the dissonance that appeals the most. The idea that such big-eyed, soft-featured characters could harbor such hateful, angry beliefs is handcrafted for the internet, where irony goes to die. While acknowledging that lots of anime can appear too fascist, what can be done to make sure that these shows aren't idealizing it? Most of the shows I mentioned actually depict the main characters fighting against those militaristic regimes. Attack on Titans, Eren and his friends are attempting to uncover a military conspiracy involving the Titans. Full Metal Alchemist reveals how a botched military invasion of a neighboring country, populated with brown-skinned people who have a different religion than the white folk, shows. Wow, now I really need to watch it.
This might save Japan.
Shows government corruption. Fascism in anime becomes a problem when fans glorify and emulate these clearly evil characters. After all, there are tons of Stormtrooper cosplayers among Star Wars fans, but do any of them actually believe the Empire was right? Maybe that's not the greatest example. That definitely isn't the greatest example.
It is not. As you say, not. Maybe that's not the best example. Maybe you should take that shit off.
So, is there any need for the Aka characters to be in those uniforms? No. The uniforms don't seem to be involved in any plot points, but why have it at all? Why even attempt to invoke it when the imaginary might, as it did with me, conjure up negative connotations? It only seemed as if the manga creator just liked the aesthetic, and perhaps like in those memes, there's a funny sense of irony in the dissonance between sympathetic characters and SS-esque uniforms. But irony in this current political climate is dead, and such fascist ideas should still be called out because there is an extreme fine line between a troll and a true believer. Ironic racism is still racism. Ironic fascism is still fascism. Well, she does have a point that these memes, these jokes, eventually what it does is make people actually believe them.
Oh, yeah.
And that's why it's so effective.
They're effective. They're extremely effective. And the more that they spread, the worse it is for them, right?
And it's pretty much how the Trusted Flaggers came into Valor, is through their comedy, where they were making fun of things that were taboo. And then they knew by making these jokes about things that are taboo, they don't become taboo anymore.
Yep, that's absolutely true. That's how they definitely got into power. You know, I mean, the other day, like I mentioned this earlier, that I was watching TV and I literally was watching, what was it? A show called, I wasn't watching it. It was on there because my girl watches it. She was watching something called The Goldbergs. And then after The Goldbergs, she changed the channel and it was Seinfeld. And I was like, Jesus Christ. Like everything that's on TV is literally by the Trusted Flaggers.
Will I return to Aka? Probably not. Will I continue to watch anime? Of course. Art is much about interpretation as it is about authoritarian intent. And if I am upset that something echoes an error or a political belief I found troubling, I can make a choice not to watch it. Anime has so many subgenres that it's entirely possible to watch anime without a hint of fascist ideas, and fans should still call out problematic things when we see them. It's the only way to make sure the media we consume is diverse and inclusive, as is the main character of Porco Rosso once said, I'd rather be a pig than a fascist.
Oh my god, oh, terrible. Terrible
But
ending to that article.
yeah, but all the top anime, especially if you go into at the anime convention, what the ones people really like are all quote unquote fascistic. That's the ones that everybody really likes to watch.
Yeah, I mean, to me, honestly, that seems to me like it's gonna be like the stuff that I actually want to watch, right? That's why Murdoch is so popular, right? Like at least within our circles, right? Because it's like the only thing that we have, really, right? Like everything else is pretty much shitty TV propaganda.
You know the best anime I think everybody should watch. Well, it's a movie, and you might not understand some of the story because it's kind of a multi-series, a multi volume manga series, and kind of condense it into this movie. It's called Jinro. That's where the right wing Death Squad meme came from. The guy in the full body armor just gunning down people, and he's literally gunning down communists in the anime.
No
They,
fucking way.
yeah, they don't say it, but you can tell by their flags they have. I mean, they're waving red flags, the hammer and sickle, and you think the anime is about like, oh, should I really be killing these people? No, he never questions that at all. It's never questioned should he actually gun these people down or not. It's actually a questioning on like, damn, it's been years since I've seen it, but it's actually questioning on like the government itself, how to handle corruption in the government. But you would think, man, you would be questioning about is it okay to kill communists or not? It never even enters their mind.
Well, I'm glad that there's something at least out there that is beyond just Murdoch. Now this gives me some hope. And the Japanese people, maybe they know a little bit more than we do. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think it might be pretty interesting if we go over the history of Japan, the fascistic Japan.
I don't know
It's
much
not
about
really
it. I don't know
covered
much
in.
about it.
Yeah. I really don't know much about it because it wasn't really covered in history class. I mean, they go over Nazi Germany and how the Nazis got power, quote unquote, Nazi Mussolini and Adolf Hitler. But what with Japan, it was pretty much a group of samurai, group of aristocracy that wanted to put the emperor back in power. They didn't like the Western idea of democracy.
I would
So the
agree with them. I would agree with them
and,
that the idea of democracy has been so destructive to our world.
and how
Um,
these people gained power is they started from the bottom. They infiltrated businesses to become top leaders in businesses, get involved in local community groups, involved in local politics. And it's very small. The guy that called in the Cantwell a couple of times about it, thank God he stopped calling in about it because he's kind of autistic and just kept repeating himself, wasn't really getting into great details. So that's why I was looking into it. I thought it was kind of cool. I mean, completely different from us. We don't have like a warrior class that's going to rise up and take over the government.
oh no,
Yeah.
absolutely. I don't see that happen.
Yeah. So I don't think we can learn much from them. I just think it would be an interesting history to go into.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that is pretty cool. Definitely, and it's something that not many people have covered.
Yeah, it was Black Dragon Society, I believe. Yeah, I'm gonna do some research on it. I just thought it was really cool how these pretty much these samurais all grouped together, stayed focused to put the emperor back in power. I mean, they still had a prime minister, He didn't have as much power as the emperor, though. The emperor was viewed more of like a godlike figure.
Well, yeah, that's
Yeah.
good. I mean, I always like the idea of having, in a sense, someone like a kind of like a sounds like a monarch, an emperor, you know, um, that derives all his powers from something higher than himself, which gives him that ability, that people give him that authority.
So when I covered his last article, it has a lot of white pills in it, and I'm really surprised about it. I'm glad you brought it up.
Yeah, yeah. Go ahead, pull it up.
Yeah, this one's coming from South Africa. South Africa Zulu Nation joins white farmers in fight against government land seizures. And Zulu is the largest ethnic group in South Africa. So this is very important, very significant that's happening in South Africa. The largest ethnic group in South Africa, Zulu, has spoken out against the exportation, whatever, of land without compensation in the country. Zulu is ready to cooperate with the country's white farmers known as Afrikaners or Boers. Zulu King Goodwill, don't even know how to pronounce that, has said the group will cooperate with South African minority rights group Afriform. Wow, the king himself is going to work with them. So this isn't like a few Zulus on their own don't really like what's going on. It's coming from the top. The Zulu nation I'm talking about will not exist if we don't have food. That's why I say farmers must come closer so that we discuss what we can do when we talk about agriculture and the availability of enough food in the land. That's why I'm asking AFREFORM of the Boers to come and help us. Because when government started talking about the appropriation of land, expropriation without
Oh,
compensation,
expropriation.
expropriation, there we go. There is no food in South Africa. Zulu people are the largest ethnic group in South Africa with an estimated 10 to 12 million people living mainly in the province of KwaZulu Natal. I'm hoping that they actually do more than just have the government stop seizing their land. Maybe to stop these farm murders. Maybe form some type of self-defense force. Because if they know food's important, like if they take away the land from the white farmers and give it to blacks, they're going to starve to death. At least they know that much. Hopefully, they know enough. Like, hey, if we keep killing these farmers, we're not going to have food either.
Yeah,
The,
no, absolutely, and it's it's right, Bill, right, that they've come to recognize this. And we were talking earlier before about what happened in Rhodesia or Zimbabwe. That they got rid of all the white farmers and people are starving to death, to the point where Mugabe was basically begging them back.
yeah, and then they'll beg them back. Not going to stop them from like the people killing the farmers there in Zimbabwe. Not going to, and eventually they're just going to seize the land again.
Yeah, yeah. Why would you even? Yeah, why would you go back? The cost is so high. You'd be like, you know what? This already happened once. I'm not going to follow this.
The group accounts for more than a fifth of the country's population, and its opinion is important in the context of the general elections next year. Anyone who wants to be voted for and elected by us, I'm going to talk now. Anyone who wants to be elected by us must come and kneel here and commit that I will never touch your land, the Zulu king said. While kings have no official power in modern South Africa, they still have the loyalty of millions of people and are recognized in the Constitution as traditional leaders. The land exploration program run by President Cyril Ramaphosa is designed to redistribute land to poor black people to tackle severe inequality 24 years ago after the end of apartheid. It mostly involves lands owned by Boers, whites primarily of Dutch descent, However, the program has aroused discontent among the Zulus too. The Zulu king said he is waiting for a meeting with the president. He, Ramaphosa, must come here and say it, write it down in an agreement, and sign it off. The land of the Zulus will not be touched. All right. Well, I didn't like the ending of that because he pretty much called the white farmers' land Zulu land. So he he doesn't view it as their land. He views it as land as the Zulus, and that they're just better caretakers of it.
Well, as long as they kind of recognize in some sense that you know that they're going to starve to death if people don't stay alive. You know, again, if they're always every group is going to be able to is always going to say, "Oh, that's ours, right? That's our land. That's our this." But the thing that they're recognizing at least is that they need to have these people alive, and they need them to be able to thrive in any sense, in any way.
Yeah, I was doing some studying on South Africa, and I'm surprised it's even a country. It has 11 different official languages, has numerous different black tribes besides Zulu, and yeah, like I'm pretty sure these people would be fighting each other if white people weren't there. Like I
Oh
think that's the
yeah,
only thing that they're uniting over is fighting over white people, because similar things happen in other countries in Africa, right? Like all these different tribes and fight each other all the time, and fight each other over small differences. Like there's hardly any differences between the tribes that live so close to each other, but they kill each other en masse.
yep. That's true. I mean, I I don't I don't see them cooperating in any way. But I do see this, which is a good thing. I mean, I guess you could see the light. I mean, at the end of the tunnel, right? Like that. At least they're recognizing them, compared to what the ANC is. The ANC is doing is they just want to strip the land, take it for themselves, and pretty much from there, they don't know the consequences, right? They don't forecast or see those consequences into the future. At least this group of the Zulu, they could see it. They could see what's coming. They could see what the future looks like with them.
So I'm not sure if you ever heard of the anti-immigrant protest that happened last year in South Africa.
No, no, no. Go ahead and share it.
All right. So South Africa, because of its big population of white people, Indians, Chinese, it's much wealthier than the other countries in sub-Saharan Africa. So it attracts a lot of immigrants, black immigrants from Nigeria, Ghana, you name it. They go there to work in South Africa. They make more money there than they could ever make at home. And the thing is about mass immigration, it's not popular anywhere. Even in South Africa, blacks don't like mass immigration of other blacks.
Oh Jesus!
Which is ironic.
Oh my God! It reminds me
Yeah.
of in a sense, isn't Dominican Republic sort of like that with Haiti too? That Dominican Republic doesn't want Haitians into their lands as well.
Yeah, there was actually last year they were doing these mass deportations of Haitians in the country, a lot of illegal immigrants, and the UN was trying to sanction the Dominican Republic for it. I don't think the sanctions ever
Oh
went
my
through,
God!
but
But
it scared them enough. It scared the government enough to like pull back a little bit. So they've been not deporting as many.
God, that's
So
unfortunate. That is unfortunate because then this is the UN, of course, sticking their nose where it shouldn't be.
I'm just going to read a little bit of this article. I thought it was really interesting. The South Africa. You think they would want more diversity, right? The people of color are more open-minded to having diversity. Of course, I kid. They're all black. I mean, how diverse is it? Johannesburg, anti-immigrant protesters led a violent march into South Africa's administrative capital, Pretoria, on Friday, and the police responded with rubber bullets, tear gas, and water cannons. President Jacob Zuma appealed for calm and condemned the latest wave of anti-foreigner violence to grip South Africa in years. Many citizens of other countries living in South Africa are law abiding and contribute to the economy of the country positively, Mr. Zuma said. Uh, yeah, I don't know how much of that is true. It probably isn't as true.
That is just such. Yeah, this is written by the New York Times. Remember.
Yeah. It is wrong to brand all non-nationals as drug dealers or human traffickers, he said. Let us isolate those who commit such crimes and work with government to have them arrested without stereotyping and causing harm to innocent people. Legal and illegal African immigrants to South Africa, which has the continent's most advanced economy, have been the focus of criticism and resentment and sometimes of violent attacks in recent years. South Africans accuse migrants of stealing jobs or exploiting locals by running small businesses in poor black townships. And I also think
Wait,
they probably work for less too. Work for less than the
are you?
average black South
Are,
African.
did this article just say that blacks are violent? They just say. They just say. Just mentioning that interesting fact, that the New Times. What's going on here? What's going on with your writers?
Others blame foreigners for the country's high crime rates. The accusations, which are not backed up by official statistics, resonate in a country with a jobless rate of 27% and yawning income inequalities. The latest anti-immigrant sentiments were set off in a neighborhood south of Johannesburg called Rosenville, where residents burned down a dozen houses that they said were used by Nigerians as drug dens and brothels. And they probably were used as drug dens and brothels.
Yeah, no, that's probably it's kind of funny because we're deciphering the bullshit in a sense too at the same time.
Yeah, it's actually been quite a few. And pull another article.
The Nigerian drug dealer. Look there. Is that them protesting, going to march against the Nigerians right there? That photo.
Yeah.
Going after them. Let me see. Good.
Yeah, it's crazy, So I don't know what the problem is, right? I mean, most people in the world, hell, even in South Africa, they don't like mass immigration. So why is this being forced upon the people? Where's this antagonism coming from? Most people don't like mass immigration, but they get it forced on them anyway.
Yeah, even though they're the same, basically the same type of people, they hate the fact that they're bringing other people from other areas to their areas, even though they're somewhat genetically similar. Isn't that interesting? So it's ironic in a sense, right? That the Africans are kind of, in a sense, standing up for their most closest culture, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it's just I don't even. It's kind of funny, but at the same time, it sheds light on if it's happening here. What do you think about other places around the world? The conflict that it's going to create, especially when it comes to people that aren't even genetically similar at all, right? Like, and a good example is like California, that Compton used to be a primarily black neighborhoods, right? And apparently Mexicans have been driving them out. So yeah, it's going to happen with people that aren't even genetically similar, to an even more to a higher degree.
Yeah, and also in parts of East Africa, I don't remember the countries. There's been a lot of anti-Chinese riots. There's a lot of Chinese. When China comes over to invest in Africa, they don't hire local workers. Like, they bring over Chinese men to work in whatever project they're doing, maybe some infrastructure project or a mining operation. And when the Chinese men come over, they get with one of the African women. They get the African women pregnant, and then like they don't take care of the kid. They don't acknowledge the kid. They head back into China. So they leave single mothers behind.
Oh no, there's an epidemic of single black Chinese babies in Africa, apparently. That is pretty hilarious. That's I mean, from what I've read, it was somewhat similar in Santo Domingo, apparently too, right? That is that the white men would have children with the black with what they was, and they wouldn't really take care of them. They would be mostly with their white. They were mistresses to the white men.
Yeah, for the most part. Yeah, they were just mistresses. They didn't really take care of the kids.
Yeah, they didn't. And yeah, they didn't take care of them, and they basically got with their white wives, you know, and then had these other women as mistresses, and then they had kids with them, and that's where you had the breed of the mulattoes that came from.
Yeah, I'm trying to bring up that article about the Chinese people in Zambia.
Oh man, that's crazy. That is a definitely a mix that I would like to see. Just as I'm curious, a Chinese black, that is interesting.
Yeah, somebody in chat said, "Nah, they're just black."
Yeah, you know, once you go black, that's it. You know, it's just you're just straight black, nothing else. But Tiger Woods. Actually, that's a good point. Yeah, Tiger Woods is half Asian and half white or black. I'm sorry.
Yeah, if he was half Asian, half white, he would look different.
Yeah, well, he got the smarts, I would say, probably from his Asian genetics, and the athletic ability from his black genetics, right? So this helped him out, and he was one of the richest athletes. Yeah, I believe he was half Sweet Cheeks. Did you find the article?
I can't. No, I can't find it. I actually found it based on this other article because these Chinese, there was this African Zambian national, sorry, that was studying in China. He was dating this Chinese woman, and a group of Chinese men came up to him, didn't like that he was dating this Chinese woman, and just beat him to death with the metal pipes. Did you see that video?
No, I have not seen that video.
Oh, okay. Let me see if I can find it.
Yeah, I would like to see
that. I was reading it on this damn, I forgot the name of the site. It was like some Zambian news site. And on that's where it mentioned like, oh, well, the Chinese men can come over to Zambia and like knock up our women, but we can't go over there and date their women.
Oh no, no. Oh no, that's a big no. I mean, yeah, but you know, it's no, that cannot happen. You cannot. I mean, there's this kind of meme that I saw, right? That it's a guy that his face is trying to turn away because there's this really attractive Asian woman and like racial purity, you know what I mean? And Asian women are extremely usually attractive, right? And that would be a very, very sad thing to see.
Yeah, this is the video. Well, it's pretty graphic, but it's only 30 seconds.
Oh, well, hopefully we don't. I don't think it's not going to cause our channel to go down or anything, right? Oh, Jesus. Oh, yeah, that. Oh.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
Yeah, you know, that's. This is exactly the cultural conflicts that arise out of these type of things.
Yeah, It's just a disaster waiting to happen because the as a result of the Chinese going to these African countries for resources, they allow like some but of the citizens to go over to China to study, but it's actually just going to cause problems in the long run.
Yeah,
Yeah,
look, I mean, no one, and unfortunately, no, this is just the truth. No one really likes to be around, blacks. It's just the truth. No one really likes to be around them. There's some that are good, right? Like there's like the Thomas Sowell and the Walter Williams, but these are extremely rare cases. Most blacks, unfortunately, are the ones that that are kind of like rappers, and they love that type of culture, and they're not very productive. They're more destructive, if anything.
yeah, and I guess the people in China, you can really understand how different they are. Like if you live in China, it's practically 100% Chinese. Add in a couple of Africans, you notice how different they act from the rest of the Chinese people.
Yeah, I mean, God, it's the difference of like imagine. I mean, your social connections to the people around you is going to change if you bring an influx of blacks to your society. And I think the Asian people see that, and they just definitely don't want any part of it, right?
Yeah. You know what's ironic? The Tiananmen Square protest actually started out as an anti-African protest because
Really?
yeah, it was let's see, I'll post you an article to the Wikipedia. This is never mentioned in the news when they talk about the Tiananmen Square protests, like what happened before then.
Yeah, you never
Yeah,
hear about what led to it, right? They only show you the photo of that guy with the tank, right?
yeah, they show the tanks afterwards, but basically China was trying to spread communism to Africa. Same with the Soviet Union. So, like, trying to build up cozy relationships with Africa, spread more Maoism. They would allow African students to come over to study in China, learn about communism and stuff. And African men would come there, start dating the Chinese women. Chinese men really didn't like it. Also, didn't like the culture they were bringing. The Yeah, they just really just lost it in one day. So decided to rise up, start protesting the government, and then it ended up from anti-African protests to just a general anti-government protest.
And then all the Africans probably left, probably, huh? I would assume after something like that.
Yeah, according to this, during the Tiananmen Square protest of next year, this protest started in 1988. Tiananmen Square is in 1989. The vast majority of Africans left the country at that point.
Like fuck
I,
this.
I mean, when you have, most of the country rising up and protesting against you being in their country, you might as well leave. You don't want to get killed.
Have you ever seen in the Rodney King riots, by any chance, the photo of the Koreans with their guns outside of on the buildings, by any chance?
Rooftop Koreans.
Yeah, they got on top of their building with like their rifles and just pointing and protecting their property from the looting that's going around. And you see like all the other places that don't have like guns or no protection, they're just all being looted. This one Korean establishment is just protected. And it seems like to me that the Koreans knew like, hey, the kind of characters that they deal with in that type of community. So they were prepared. They were very prepared.
Yeah, they were based.
Yeah,
And
they're
none of them
basic as
got
fuck.
robbed. Nobody wanted to
None
go
of
in
them
there.
robbed. And that's a very dangerous situation. And imagine if it's the complete opposite, right? Well, of course you're not gonna have riots, but if you have Asians rioting and then you're like the minority blacks in there, oh, that's a recipe of like get the fuck out of there now, like right now, and go back to where you want, where people want you.
Yeah, I was actually listening to a podcast about those Koreans, the rooftop Koreans, and how they were actually trying to, after this protest, trying to create a voting block for the Republican Party voting block, because it was out in California. Gun laws are pretty restrictive. So what they actually, the local California government did was break up the Korean enclave, so they weren't all grouped up together where they had power, and kind of just separated them out, split up their districts, gerrymandering the districts. It was pretty awful what happened.
Yeah, of course. I mean, anything that threatens what your, what your power structure has, very simple thing. There's things that you could do, and that's a very smart thing that they did. Even though I hate what they did, they broke up the districts, meaning that they have less power. That's pretty
It was
insidious thing to do.
it was called Myth of the 20th Century. Was what the podcast was about. And I didn't even know these Koreans, like after those Rodney King riots, they went overwhelmingly Republican. All of a
Yeah, I
sudden
mean,
became really pro gun at that point.
yeah, I mean, after that, after going through all that shit, I mean, who wouldn't like see that chaos? I mean, unless you're like liberal cuck, right? There's liberal cucks that are like, oh, that's fine with them protesting out there and burning businesses and doing all this shit and robbing people and killing people as well too.
Yeah, they dragged that one guy out of his truck, just started wailing on him for no reason. Dude was just probably didn't even was involved with anything.
Yeah, I believe it
Political.
was. I think it was like a pastor or someone that got on top of him, and that's what stopped people from beating him. He saved his life.
Huh.
Yeah, he saved his life, and that's a good thing. He's definitely some decent people there, and those people need to really lead that community. It might have been Jesse Lee Peterson. Who knows?
Maybe.
That might have been Jesse Lee Peterson, right? Like as much as like I shit on Jesse Lee Peterson, because I do, because I feel like every a sentence that he says is just something about men not being strong or men being weak. Like you could tell him, what about like a hard mouse from a Cantwell show that was telling him, hey, look, Jews are causing these problems. He's like, but why are men so weak? He's like, but yeah, this is the problem Jews are doing. But why are men so weak? And he couldn't even get off his idea.
Well,
it's just, like, what?
I was gonna say his producer. Forgot his name. His producer, I think, is Jewish, and he kind of gives him like this economy that he repeats about all of everybody's mistakes, problems in their life is that they have a bad relationship with their father.
Apparently,
Yeah. They don't love God enough.
Yeah, this reminds me of Martin Luther King, right? That he had what's the guy's name? Levinson, I think it was his name. He wrote his speech for him and handled his money. Is this the same thing that's going on with Jesse Lee Peterson? Does he have a Jew behind him, literally doing everything for him?
Yeah, I think so. I knew the producer's Jewish, so it wouldn't surprise me.
That doesn't surprise me, unfortunately. The guy just let him be. He's like, he will never address the JQ, so just let him talk. He's just going to talk about how men are weak and everything is the problem because of men being weak. It is literally the same talking points, and I really don't know who really watches that, but at the same time, he is good for his community, right? Like, I can't shit on him because he's good for his community, I would say, right?
Yeah, I mean, hey, if he's telling black people, hey, don't go around committing crimes on white people, do that.
Yeah, he's going to be a lot
that
better.
Works, right? Yeah.
He's going to be a lot better than Ben Shapiro, right? Telling people that, hey, look, you shouldn't go murdering, murdering each other, right? Just
don't murder each other. Don't blame everything on white people. Stay with your kids. Marry the person you're not up.
Yeah, and it's gonna come better from Jesse Lee Peterson, and they're going to respect that type of thinking from a black man. A white man cannot tell a black man these type of things. It just can't. Or I'm
So,
sorry, a Jewish man.
so the guy that was Martin Luther King's lawyer was Stanley Leverson, and he, believe it or not, was a financier coordinator for the Communist Party USA. He was actually one of the reasons why the FBI was keeping an eye on Martin Luther King, because he thought he was a communist infiltrator.
Which he was.
Yeah, he was. True. They thought right. Exactly, that's what he was. It was a failed coup, though.
Yeah, it's kind of funny that's the time when the FBI kind of almost had the right. They thought he was, and they were right, but they never moved on it. Right? They never did anything.
So, I actually wanted to segue to our last topic when we were talking about the Nanjing anti-African protest in China. It's amazing how, like, I'm pretty sure the government was pretty oppressive in China at that time, because there was a lot of reforms at the Tiananmen Square protest, but those people in China didn't give a damn to rise up against their government. What it really took was other men going in there, taking all the women from them, to really start getting that anger bubbling in them, to start rising up, start demanding changes in their government. And I think that's what's going to happen here. Because, we tried red pilling people on race. It's hardly anybody who isn't, unless you live in an all-white neighborhood, like a 90-plus neighborhood, there's no way you don't notice racial differences. So we pretty much told people this, convinced them on this, but it's not enough for them to invoke any action from them. So I think that this huge, the Kavanaugh investigation, the Me Too, you're pretty much going to get that meme of the Lacey Green thing where you have a woman can withdraw consent. Like, you know who Lacey Green is, right?
Yeah, she's that girl that she was a feminist, and I think now she's dating more of a right-wing guy.
She's still a feminist. She's just more of a right-wing feminist. That makes sense.
I don't even know what that is. What is a right-wing feminist?
So pretty much she had this one video about consent, affirmative consent. And she said when you have sex with a woman and a woman can withdraw consent in the middle of the sex act. I thought, okay, that's very ridiculous. And then even went farther. Not only could a woman withdraw consent in the middle of a sex act, she can withdraw consent weeks, even months after you had the sex. So if pretty much like if it was a consensual sex that day, maybe she woke up on the wrong side of the bed and it was a consensual sex and now it's rape.
Yeah,
so I think that's the next part of where they're going with the this rape fiasco.
Yeah, like 5 years later, when a guy has a family, children, the woman could be like, you know what? I regret this sex that I had with you 5 years ago. How dare you, take advantage of me? The guys would be like, I thought we moved on beyond that, and unfortunately, that's a bad thing for us.
Well, I would say, well, yeah, bad in one way, a good thing in another, because I think that's the only way it's going to really get men to start rising up, where like the feminists are going to get so extreme that like you got to be like at the very top percent of alpha to get with women and not get a false rape accusation or get all these other crazy laws and they're trying to enact.
Oh, yeah. There'll be no alpha males. There'll be no alpha males out of the street like at all.
Yeah, and I think when it's at that point, it's like, okay, no matter what I do, it's going to end up being rape. That then men are just going to start rising up against the government.
Like, fuck this already. This is already just bullshit. Like, and I look, I could definitely see that aspect. Like, I mean, and that that's kind of like women pushing the buttons as far as they can, right, to make us fucking stand up against them, right? To me, it kind of seems like women want men to fucking rise up and save the society, right? I don't know. What do you think?
Maybe, um, because it's certainly going to happen. It's getting to that point, right? Like feminism has no end goal. They're just going to keep pushing it until they get like a big reactionary movement to it
Yeah, you get
that'll
white
actually have
Sharia,
some
right?
teeth behind it.
You get white Sharia eventually.
Yeah.
Women aren't even allowed to drive, and that type of behavior. Look, I was very like in the complex that I live in. There's one Muslim woman, right, and I was driving out, right, and I thought that she ordered an Uber because women, in that faith aren't allowed to drive, and I was like, oh, okay, whatever. I thought that I saw a car waiting there, and I was wrong. She was walking blocks. I caught her like in the blocks, like 3 blocks down, and I was like, "Holy shit!" Like this woman can't even get in a car with other people, like in that type of religion. Do we need this to happen again? Like, do we need this for us?
Yeah, I know the meme can go a little bit too far. I really don't like some aspects about it, but part of me is like, all right, fine. It's like if they don't want to behave, if they're going this insane, especially with what I saw at the Kavanaugh fiasco. It's like I don't know, but I'm certainly more open minded to it now.
Yeah, like believe it or not, type of thoughts go into your head when you start seeing things like this. You're like, we just need to fucking put these women in their goddamn place. Like, really, like seriously, if anything, if there was ever like Islamic type of guys on our side, just unleash them on these women, right, and just put them down. Like it's just these ideas start literally creeping up inside your head. Like, man, we really like put these fucking women in their fucking place, and it's crossed my mind many times. You know, imagine if these type of laws like the no fault divorce laws that happen and that women win most of the divorce cases, even though they initiate the divorces mostly. Imagine how different our society would be if none of these things were enacted or enforced the way that they are. Women would be way different.
Hey, that's a really good segue to talk about marriage after the sexual revolution. And I actually don't think. I think yeah, the law itself, the no fault divorce law, did have a big impact. But I think it was also a big change in our media and society. Like you look at I Love Lucy, how they portray marriage to how marriage is portrayed now, how it's like they really put down marriage and like move up divorce as being an ideal thing, like liberating for a woman to divorce and find a younger man, younger, wealthier man.
Well, Ricky Ricardo and I
And
Love Lucy was beating was beating his wife in the, well, not beating in the sense of literally beating her,
they
but
were
like
spanking her, yeah.
spanking her. So that is completely different than what we have today, right? Like it's like she spends too much money, he goes and he puts her over his lap, and she gets a spanking.
I think that's really big. I mean, I I know it's kind of cliche and say it's the media's fault, but people really do unfortunately get their opinions from the media they consume, from watching the TV shows on cable, watching Netflix movies, and when it's all like no support structure for marriage, on the opposite, just pushing support structure for divorce. I'm not really surprised there's more divorce in society. And we also have like the breakdown of community as well. I mean, because a lot of us live in more diverse areas where there really isn't a sense of togetherness and community. like if you were having a problem with your marriage, I'll give my grandma for example. If you have a problem with your marriage, then like your neighbors would help you out, right? Your neighbors, you probably went to the same church as your neighbor. Your neighbor would like tell your pastors like, "Hey, can you talk to these people? They, can
Yeah,
you
it was
help them
solved in
out?"
a community level. It was solved in a community level, right? And now we don't have that. Now, if anything, the media promotes the complete opposite. It promotes, as soon as you get into a fight with your husband or wife, you go out and you find yourself someone else, right? Someone better, right? And specifically towards women, right? Like, oh, I could have any other guy, let me go to this other guy that's going to be. Which, look, there's always going to be men orbiting around women, but that shouldn't be the response, right?
Yeah, it's really sad is the church itself. I mean, not all of these churches are this way, but I went to a Methodist church growing up, and as you know, Methodist church got to be like the most liberal church out there. I mean, it might as well just be, you know, the church of liberalism and atheism, because I don't even think they follow anything that's in the Bible. They have completely different interpretations that make no sense.
I
Uh,
wouldn't doubt it. I haven't. Which church was that you mentioned? I'm sorry.
Methodist,
Methodist. No, I
yeah.
mean, I don't know much about it, but it wouldn't shock me, right? Like that they would be like, is it like Christian? Or I would assume, right?
It's yeah, I'm sorry, what was that? You're
It,
breaking up.
oh, it's Christian, right? I would assume.
Oh yeah, it's Christian. It's actually a Protestant denomination,
Yeah, there's
but
Christian socialism. Like, there's people that put those two together.
yeah, this is the same type of church where the liberation theology comes from, which is really just communism repackaged and a more like a Christian friendly type of attitude.
Oh God.
And yeah, the really thing that I really didn't like about the Methodist Church is they'll say that they support marriage, but you know they really they don't speak out against divorce, and low key they kind of encourage it in a way, which is really why I don't like the church.
Yeah. Those churches have been subverted in a sense, right? So by certain individuals that I think we all know about, and yeah, it's not shocking. This is the same thing with the Joel Olsteins, with what's the other one, the other big name? I forgot his name. He's always on TV. He's always promoting his books. Well, whatever. The main one, it's kind of like its own hierarchy sense, right? That goes all the way down to the community level. It goes all the way down from the top ones like Olstein all the way down to the community churches.
Yeah, so you have the media, you have the churches. I mean, the Methodist Church is probably a pretty extreme example. I think it's like the most liberal churches, but I'm pretty sure even the most conservative churches, they'll still do like the remarriages, right? Because that was one thing that stopped a lot of people from divorcing. Because churches just refused to remarry people if they didn't divorce for the if it wasn't like over abuse or I forgot. There's only like three or two reasons, legitimate reasons why the church would let you get divorced, and if you didn't divorce for that reason, no church would remarry you. So that
Mm,
actually stopped a lot of people from divorcing because churches wouldn't remarry people.
yeah, no, that's a good thing. And then again, that's the church trying to solve problems too, right? Like, because instead of divorcing so quickly, they would want to mediate it, right? See what's going on. How can your marriage improve? Like, how can you two connect, better? What's going on? Like, these are the type of questions that they would ask, and they would do everything that they could, to try to keep these people together. And that's a good thing, because I think there was a study that was done that showed that people that stayed together during hard times in marriages, they're happier. They're happier, right? They're glad that they got through it, and some of them regret those decisions. So a lot of people would be a lot happier if they would have stayed with their marriage.
Yeah, and especially women. I mean, women that get married and they have like a couple of kids and they divorce. Not a lot of men want to be with them, with women that already have kids with somebody else, because they don't want to take care of somebody else's kids.
Yeah, it's the shit tier. You get the shit tier of men, the worst of the worst of the men, and it's a gradual decline, right? So like I know someone personally that after every kid they had, they literally got with a different type of guy. And the same thing happened. Like the first person was like the alpha male, right? The very good looking tall guy, right? The second one was a very short one, you know. The third one is basically doesn't even matter. Like it's worse. It just gets and also older, right? It's not younger, right? So it just ends up getting worse. You start going down the tiers after that. After you already have kids, you just get the worst of the worst of the worst of men that are going after you. I mean, what men with pride wants to take care of another woman, another man's kid? I know I wouldn't.
Yeah, I'll give you some anecdotal evidence from my family. My one aunt, she had two kids with my uncle. Well, she was actually seeing this guy who was a college student. He worked as a bartender at college. Now, I mean, to be frank, he was a lot better looking than my uncle. Maybe because he's like half his age, in better shape. My uncle wasn't really fat, but he was in shape. But this kid was really in shape. He was like really buff. My aunt decided to divorce my uncle to get with this guy, this college student that worked at a bar. And I, it's so predictable. It didn't last long. It only lasted for like a year and a half at most until
Yeah,
they
I mean
started divorcing.
that guy has options, right? Like, and especially when it's an older woman, right? The older
Yeah,
woman's only going to deteriorate, right?
yeah.
And then there's going to be these beautiful young women that are going to look good to him, right? And he's just going to push her to the side. That's just the how it works. It's just natural. So
And
her
I could.
making that decision, hopefully she didn't go back to your uncle.
No, she didn't. My uncle never took her back. He got married to somebody else.
Yeah,
But I just thought it was I mean, I could see from her position because she was like older. She had a couple of kids. Didn't look as good as she used to when she was younger, and she had this like young guy who's really in shape. Bartender. He was the guy actually graduated. He has a pretty good job. I think he works for Raytheon or one of the military contractors. But obviously he was just using her for for that meantime.
yeah, yeah.
Just
No,
probably made a huge mistake.
this is like the type of things that like I wish Sex in the City or and shows like this that are propaganda for women would show. Like this is the reality, if you live this type of lifestyle, right?
Oh,
Like
jeez, I don't mean to cut you off, but Sex in the City is horrible for women. It's like an insane fantasy that never happens in the real world. Where the what's the main character? Sarah Jessica Parker gets with this guy. What's his name? Mr. Big. He's like this millionaire, half her age. It's like, oh well, he could have anybody, but he wants me. It's like, yeah, right. In reality, all he's gonna do is use you, and then he's gonna chuck you to the side when he can find a woman younger than you.
exactly. There should be like another part that shows like the after effect, right? Like the real stories of this. Like I would love if the media wasn't so goddamn, you know, freaking trusted flaggers, and to see what real like alt right media would look like, right? Like how would it look like to us, right? Like if we had control of some sort of media, we would be showing the truth of these things, right? This is what's going to happen to you. You're going to become old and wrinkly. That rich man is going to go find himself a young 21, 20, maybe 19, 18-year-old woman, and he's not even going to care about you like at all.
It's really another movie that promotes divorce. Eat, Pray, Love.
Yes.
It's also a book too. Oh God, I wish I could ban it because it has encouraged so many women to. Have you ever heard of the movie or seen the movie?
I've seen it. It's the one with the older red hair woman that played the what's her name? Julia Roberts.
Yeah. So pretty much she like divorces her husband and she decides I'm gonna go out and see the world. So she goes out Italy, I think India and Indonesia. She found like her dream guy in India and she ended up going with him. Like, in reality that well, in real life, the person who wrote the book, how she found her soulmate in India when she was fi- decided to divorce her husband, that guy ended up divorcing her.
Yeah,
But
that's awesome. Oh, what a happy ending.
yeah, but so many women they view that as inspirational. They're like, "Oh, I'm just gonna divorce my husband. I'm gonna go around the world. I'm gonna find a man half my age, making twice the money my husband used to, and then he's gonna devote himself to me." And like, I really, I'm surprised how many women actually fall for that.
Well, it's one of the trends that I've noticed, and I don't know if you have noticed. So with I don't know if this is with your, but a lot of the women that like I went to high school with, they're all focused not on having children, right? They're focused on traveling. They're focused on going all over the world, right? Like all they go to Italy, they go to all these countries, instead of having children. Like traditionally, probably the way that it would work would be you would have your children first, you raise them to a certain age, they leave the household, and then you and your husband could do the traveling, right? It's the opposite now. Now women being younger are actually traveling, not looking for husbands. And imagine if you're going to another country as a woman, you're probably looking for sex.
Yeah.
So you're going around, you're getting screwed by different men in different countries. This is the type of behavior that from what I see.
And I actually think this is causing another problem too. You hear about these young females that are having sex with their students in high school and middle school. It's because like back in the day, high school teachers, they were women who had children, their kids are all grown up, and they decided I'm going to go to college to become a teacher. So they're like in their 40s and their 50s, and like they don't view guys that are 14, 16 as attractive, but like a girl who's not that much older than them, really just came out of college in her early 20s, goes back to high school, you know, she views
Yeah.
that 14 or 16-year-old kind of like her peer, you know.
Well, look. There's this comment, and it's by Hard Luck, and he wrote, "Why do these women want to travel? They don't even know how to travel properly, like Andrew Anglin." That's a pretty. That's a good one. I'm sorry, I had to cut you off. A great comment.
Yeah, he knows how to travel, doesn't he?
Yeah. But you were mentioning that these women that end up going to universities, they end up going back to the schools where they're essentially kind of like peers, like close to age, right?
Yeah, they're not mature. They're pretty much just teenagers themselves. Like when they go back to school, that's why they're attracted to like other teenagers. Like they don't view them as kids. But uh, back in the day, the older women who has a child already raised up decided to go into a career teaching. They don't view them as somebody who has sex with. They view them as, oh, this is
This
like
could
my
be
own
my
child.
son. This
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
this
just
could be
could be
my
my
child.
son.
No, I don't want to have sex with someone that's kind of like my child. That's fucking gross. I mean, yeah, of
Yeah, you're
course.
like my son's age.
Exactly. So that's absolutely true. These women, since they go straight from high school, they go to university, they get their stuff done within 3 to 4 years, and then they're back into where they were, like literally a couple years ago. Into that type of toxic atmosphere, because high schools, middle schools, elementaries, they're all toxic, in my opinion.
Yeah,
And
so
women are influenced very easily, right? So imagine having this type of culture around you where sex is like common, right? Like, I mean, they're teaching kids sex from middle school to high school. So it's part of like that culture inside of the high school, right? The kids and teenagers are having sex with each other, and women are are very easily influenced. I see that. I definitely do.
Well, and also like these young men, their testosterone is as high as it's ever going to be. They have very high sex drive, and these young 20-year-old women, they're fairly attractive compared to like the 40 or 50-year-old woman who used to be a teacher. So of course they're going to be trying to hit on their teacher.
Yeah, Hard Luck just said, I really missed out on the whole teacher banging thing. There was one hot teacher in my high school, but it didn't have the class there. I'm so sorry. Maybe that might have been the one hot teacher, that you could have got. The one that got away.
Yeah, the only
But
thing I
yeah.
don't like is the line when it happens, like, oh, these boys are gonna be traumatized for life because they had sex with their teachers. Like, shut up! You know they're not traumatized.
Oh, they're that when they go into the locker rooms with their buddies, they're like, "You got laid with so and so teacher, dude. You are the fucking man." Like, tell me that kid won't become like the top shit in that school.
Yeah, and also we know like the female male sex dichotomy, how it works. If you're a guy, you approach the woman, right? Like the teacher's not approaching the guys, so it wouldn't surprise me a lot of times these guys are approaching their teachers and trying to get something from them.
Oh yeah, yeah, right. So that's just the nature of things, right? So the woman, she might show a little bit of interest, but she's not going to go out flat right and tell you, right? There has to be like, the man has to go up and do it, and these are probably the most alpha of the fucking kids there, right? And they're the chads of the fucking schools, right?
Yeah, a lot of times they are.
Right? Yeah, these are the chads of the school. They're going there and they're practicing their moves, for the future. And it works, and the teachers get in trouble. But not nothing from what I've seen. No, nothing really bad ends up happening to the female teachers. From what I usually see, it usually is bad when it's the opposite though.
All right, well, I think this is a pretty well done episode. This hour has 56 minutes. I'm glad to
Yeah, I
do
think
it
so.
on. I'm glad to do it on the Wednesday when Cantwell decides to not do his show. Hopefully, it gives you guys a little more entertainment for the day.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
starving for
definitely.
content.
Cantwell is Hale Cantwell, 1433 guys.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna start closing this up. So I added some links to the description. The Cantwell's page. If you want to donate, please donate to him. ChristopherCantwell.com/donate. And also help our guys out in Charlottesville. We got Ram. The organization really did nothing wrong. It's an organization, a fight club, teaches people to get off degeneracy, stop watching porn, stop watching drugs, eat healthy, and we really need to support those guys as well. We got Right Brand Clothing. They're selling stickers where the proceeds will go help fund their legal defense. So if you can, please give money to either Christopher Cantwell or Seaville 4. Cantwell is a part of the Seaville 5 as well. So I would really appreciate that. Do you have any closing remarks?
No, thank you guys for hearing us out again. We really appreciate it, and I hope to see you guys again, man. And we should do this again soon.
All right. See you next time, guys.
Later, guys.